Hey, what is up guys? This is Nishi from MST.TV here, back with another Market Watch episode. So today we are looking forward a little bit at how the game is going to be changing in just a short while. We just had the ban list drop over in the OCG, and there were several significant changes that are definitely worth paying attention to, as it could be a sign of things to come here as well. And on top of that, we have Cyberstorm Access coming out in just another month, which is bringing several game-changing cards that could shift the format as well. Let's get started. So to kick things off, we'll take a look at two very notable cards that came off of the ban list in the OCG, starting with Blaster, Dragon Ruler of Infernos. Of course, Blaster is from one of the game's most infamous archetypes. Dragon Rulers were a crazy tier 0 strategy for a while, and they played a big role in the game for at least a couple of years before everyone thought that they would stay banned forever, until a few years ago when we saw Konami decide to get a little bit brave and pull Tempest, the Wind Dragon Ruler, off of the list. Well, that kinda didn't really have much of an impact on the game at all, and now we have seen the second step as Blaster has gone off the list on both Master Duel and over in the OCG, and everyone is now assuming that the card will soon be limited here in the TCG as well. Now, as cool as it is, I don't think it's going to be anything too game-breaking. The card is just another body that can special summon itself out for free once per turn, which I guess might be useful sometimes, right? It is an extender, and aside from that, you're trading two cards just to pop something. The card feels just like not that crazy by the standards of today's game. I mean, I guess there is the chance that we'll see Dragon Link do something cool with it, but overall, I'm not too worried about the impact that this card will have on the format. However, there are definitely people worrying about this card as far as the market is concerned and being able to grab their hands on a single copy. The possibility of the card being unbanned has already factored into the market a bit ever since the card was unbanned first on Master Duel, so we didn't see huge fluctuations over the last day or so in this card's price. However, it is still worth noting that secret rare blasters from the Megatins are $11, while the rares from Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy are up at $8 each. Of course, just like Tempest, we should assume that when the card does get unbanned, it will get some sort of reprint in the TCG in order to improve its accessibility, so you'll probably want to go ahead and offload your blasters while they're currently really hyped up. Up next, the other card that was unbanned that we should be paying attention to is Glow Up Bulb. Now, this isn't the first time that Glow Up Bulb has been unbanned. I remember the last time that this card was unbanned many years ago. It was really surprising, but then it didn't really have that much of an impact on the game at all. Of course, everything changed once Halki Fibrax came out, and it was clear that a lot of tuners needed to be hit if Halki Fibrax wasn't going to be, but now that Halk is banned, I guess that the OCG has decided that it is safe to bring Glow Up Bulb back to 1, and the expectation is that it will be unbanned here in the TCG as well. Overall, I don't think it's going to make too much of a change. Of course, with tier limits still attempting to survive, I suppose Glow Up Bulb might be an interesting tech for that particular strategy. And yes, Rickus and Avalon are a deck that can abuse various plant monsters as well, so perhaps Glow Up Bulb could add some more interesting plays there. But overall, I don't think that the card will be nearly as good now with Halki Fibrax banned. It'll just be another good card in the context of today's format. However, we've seen a ton of people freak out over the unbanning of Glow Up Bulb, which has caused the card to shoot way up in price. Remember, the card's original printing was in Starstrike Blast, which only comes first edition and is very difficult to find, so the ultra rares are around $15, while the ultimate rares are crazy, way up there at $140 each. The secret rares are the other nice printing from Legendary Collection 5Ds, currently sitting at about $20. Other than that, the card had a Structure Deck common printing, which should be under $1 per copy, so something that is worth setting aside from your bulk if you do happen to see it. This one probably won't be as shocking when it comes off the list here in the TCG, but you guys will still want to try and take advantage of the early hype as soon as the ban list drops and move as many copies as you can. Next, we're looking at a couple of meta-relevant cards, and the first one is Dingersu, Orchest of the Evening Star. So before you get your hopes up, Orchest aren't doing anything right now, and overall my hopes of Harp Horror getting unbanned are overall pretty low. However, Dingersu is a card that is currently trending on the market with all of its different printings being up in price. The card is a generic rank 8 monster, and on summon you can non-targeting send an opponent's card to the graveyard. It also has an effect where if a card or cards you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can detach a material from this card instead. So as a generic rank 8 monster, this card is potentially being used in Labyrinth, with 2 level 8s being put onto the board fairly easily, and it doesn't matter too much about having them underneath dingersu, since you can use Big Welcome to special summon Lady back from the graveyard. The card provides Labyrinth with non-targeting spot removal, but it is also a decent card to protect your board from cards like Harpy's Feather Duster, Lightning Storm, and Twin Twisters, all cards that players will try to side against Labyrinth as a back row heavy strategy. On top of that, since dingersu is a dark monster, you can still go into it when you have Gozen match up as well, Gozen being a very popular card against Kashtira this current format. Overall, it's pretty situational, but I can definitely see you wanting to go into this card sometimes. Dingersu as a rank 8 hasn't seen much meta-relevant play in a while, and it last got a reprint in Dual Overload, which was about 3 years ago. Dingersu got an ultimate rare printing in an OTS tournament pack. Those have always been fairly expensive, and now the card is about $60 per copy. However, the Ultras have gone up a lot more. They were at around $5 or $6 when the reprint first came out. They've climbed a lot over time without getting another reprint, and they currently sit at $15 per copy. Overall, this is a lesser known one, and I don't know how likely it is that Konami will reprint it, though if they do plan on doing something like unbanning Harp, then this is a card that they would probably have their sights on. If you don't need the card though, and you have a lot of extra copies, you might just want to offload it in case that reprint does come. Alright guys, before we go any further, I do want to remind you guys to check out MST.TV. Tombucks and I have been working really hard to bring you guys some new products, and they are some of the best that the community has around. Personally, I really like the rough oversleeves. They fit Yu-Gi-Oh sleeves inside of them perfectly, without that inner sleeve sticking out at all. Perfect for your extra deck and even main deck if that's what you want. On top of that, we have the new 2023 playmat with the infinite MST logos in the background. That one's really cool. It looks like an endless maze going on there. And then of course, we have our extremely smooth black and white sleeves, perfect for your main deck. They shuffle really well and feel amazing. We have the NFT sleeves, which have been super popular for loading up your binders, and then dividers and subdividers to help you keep your collections neat and organized. Honestly, regardless of if you're a player, vendor, or collector, you'll definitely find something that will improve your overall Yu-Gi-Oh experience, so make sure that you hop on over and check out MSTmerch.com. Getting back to our market watch, the next card for us to talk about is Arrive in Light. So I think that last week we talked a little bit about Stardust Synchron and the increased power of Synchrons with Excel Synchro Stardust Dragon from Maze of Memories and the upcoming release of Assault Synchron. Well, Arrive in Light is the search target that the deck will play for Stardust Synchron, and it's quite a useful card. It provides draw power once per turn by letting you draw a card when you Synchro Summon. It also prevents your Stardust Dragon monsters from being bounced, and with Labyrinth in the format playing Compulsory Evacuation Device, this is actually some very welcome protection. Now this is just a one-of since it is searchable, however it only had one printing from Dawn of Majesty, as unlike Stardust Synchron, this card was not reprinted in the Megatins from its year. For that reason, Arrive in Light is now up at $10 per copy, which I guess is a lot for a card that used to be only $1 and was honestly one of the worst pulls from the entire set. If you guys happen to still have these lying around from before, then congratulations, you are now sitting on a small amount of cash. I wouldn't be in a rush to move them though. Wait until Assault Synchron is officially released in Battles of Legend, coming out in June later this year, and play into the hype for a newly released card in order to get the most value possible. Up next, we have Mathmech Alimbertion. Mathmechs are a deck that have had it a bit rough recently. The deck completely fell off in Ishizu Tournament format as the deck just wasn't able to keep up. With the last ban list destroying Ishizu though, Mathmechs are actually looking pretty solid as they are still a consistent, really strong strategy from before. One of the main extra deck monsters that the deck uses is Alimbertion, as on summon you can detach 2 materials from it to search for any Mathmech card. However, we also have to keep in mind that this is a generic rank 4 Xyz monster, and if you happen to be able to detach 3 materials from it, you can search for any level 4 monster in the game, and if you detach 4 materials, you can search for any spell or trap and add it to your hand. This actually has allowed the card to be used by the super heavy samurai strategy over in the OCG, an archetype that is getting a bump with several new support cards coming in Cyberstorm Access. The deck is able to get multiple level 4s out onto the field quite easily, so even though you don't generally play spells or traps because it's super heavy samurais, you could potentially search for a one-of blowout card or a floodgate. maybe like a Harpy's Feather Duster or Skill Drain or something like that. Because of these two decks, Mathmech and Super Heavy Samurais, original Secret Rare Alimbertians have been mostly bought out, and now sit at $40 per copy on TCG Player with minimal quantities left. Fortunately, there is a gold rare printing for just $1, but it looks a lot less nice than the original Secret Rares do. If you don't have it already though, I would just suck it up and grab a gold rare copy in case you do decide to play it. It isn't something that you are required to play, it's just a nice option to have, and a card like that isn't something that you want to spend a lot of money on in order to bling it out. Okay, so this is a card I feel like we've looked at multiple times over the course of the last couple years. It's Dupe Frog. Dupe Frog is of course a piece of the Frog engine, something that was used alongside Swap Frog and Ronin Totem to give the Sprite deck access to Totally Awesome. Of course, a couple of ban lists ago, we saw Ronin Totem finally get banned, as it was probably the most abusable piece of the Frog engine that would have allowed so many different decks to take advantage of it and go into Totally Awesome for free. And for a while, it seemed like that was it, and especially now without Elf, it just seemed like people wouldn't be using the whole Frog package anymore. However, it turns out that there is a way for Sprites to still try and go into Totally Awesome and abuse it. Apparently, Sprites can use Reproticus to get another level 2 Aqua Monster on the board in order to make Totally Awesome, and then use Totally Awesome to special summon Dupe Frog out of the deck as usual. Now apparently the cool thing is that the deck can also bring out Testudo Iraq Newman at the same time, and that's a level 1 water aqua monster that prevents both players from special summoning monsters with 1800 or more attack points. So I guess the funny thing here is that with both Testudo and Dupe Frog on the field, they have to normal summon something and attack over Dupe Frog, which has 2000 defense points, and then also get rid of Testudo, which I guess is kind of entertaining, though they could just use back row to get rid of it as well. All of this has caused the OTS Super Rare printing of Dupe Frog to now jump to $25 per copy. Fortunately, the card does have a couple of common printings that are still under $1. I think that the little combo is cute, but I don't really know how good or practical it is. Either way, I would still recommend dumping Super Rare Dupe Frogs and just playing with the commons, even if you want to try out the combo in your own Sprite deck. Alright guys, finally there's one last card for us to take a look at, and that is Nituria Exterio. So this is a giant fusion monster that is basically able to negate as many spells and traps as you want. All that you have to do is banish a card from your graveyard and then mill a card from the top of your deck. Really simple, but against decks that use a lot of spells and traps, this can basically mean that your opponent isn't allowed to play the game. Of course, there are some matchups where this card isn't that great, but against a lot of decks, this card will win you the game if you can just bring it out. Now this card isn't being used by Nituria, although I guess technically they could make it if they really wanted to. Rather, this card is being used by the Super Heavy Samurai deck, as they run Cyberstein as a one-of tech to cheat out giant monsters from the extra deck, and Nituria Exterio is one of the options that they choose to go with. It's naturally a great answer to Labyrinth, especially in the current format, since you're also basically using it to stop Lady from special summoning itself out from the hand, since all of your opponent's trap cards are being negated. I think that there's also a Spriggans deck that uses Cyberstein as well. I'm not 100% sure about that one. But Nituria Exterio is a fairly old card, and the two most notable printings are the original DT, which is about $20 right now, and then the Secret Rare reprint from Hidden Arsenal 4, which is about $10. Fortunately, the card does have an ultra rare DT printing from Hidden Arsenal Chapter 1, still really cheap at only about $1 or so, but that set wasn't opened that much, so it might be a bit of a pain to find. Thankfully though, that printing does exist, or else we would see the other two printings at a much higher price with the expected increase in play coming up. I think that you guys will definitely want to make sure that you have a few copies of at least the ultra rare reprint in your trade binder just in case, because this seems like a card that will see an increase in demand with a lot of people looking to grab a copy after Cyberstorm Access drops at the end of next month. Okay guys, that is it for today's episode. Some pretty interesting cards popping up. Cyberstorm Access I think is going to be a really important set that brings with it a lot of key cards. Hopefully you guys do enjoy the 250th YCS next weekend. I really wish I was going to go, but unfortunately I'm not going to be able to. Hopefully I'll have someone there that's able to help me pick up one of the entry mats with all of the prize cards, because that looks really, really awesome. Anyways, guys, if you did enjoy today's market watch, please make sure that you let me know by hitting that thumbs up button for me. Also, make sure you leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys think about the cards we talked about today and what other cards are currently trending on the market as well. And of course, if you haven't already, do make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button to get all of the latest and greatest content from both Tombox and myself. And until next time, guys, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV.